Hello, everyone. Can you hear me yet? Hello, everyone, and welcome to Spotlight here at the Atrium. So good to see so many of you here on the last day of India Art Fair. We've had a great set of Spotlight discussions so far, and this one promises to be just as engaging and enlightening. Today's talk asks the question, can e-commerce grow the art market in India? And before I get started with that, I'd just like to say a word of thanks to our sponsors. BMW is the presenting sponsor, and JSW Foundation is the associate partner. Thank you also to Le Meridian Hotels, the Gupta Institute, Absolute Vodka, and Panerai Watches for supporting India Art Fair. Please take this opportunity to silence your cell phones if you haven't yet. So, like I said, this panel will discuss the question, can e-commerce grow the art market in India? And to do so, this panel will be moderated by Manisha Lath Gupta, who is the CEO and co-founder of Mojarto. Manisha comes to the art market space after leading and directing several marketing campaigns from Colgate-Palmolive to Unilever to Axis Bank. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you. Good afternoon and welcome to this session. It's such a delight and a pleasure to see so many of you in the audience, especially when it conflicts with lunch hour. And it's indeed my privilege to have such an esteemed panel of speakers. Really, for me, I'm meeting some of my idols here. So thank you very much for your time. What we're going to talk about today is really the huge digitization that's been happening around the world, which I think everybody is aware of. Almost a third or a fourth, actually, of the population on this planet has access to the internet today, and not just in India, but globally, of course. $1.8 trillion worth of goods and services are bought over the internet every year. Now that's a huge number, right? And what's been very interesting at the art fair as well, and I've been noticing it, that the people who've come to this art fair are actually all quite young, right? Mostly in the age group of 25 to 40. Everybody is digitally connected, everybody's got access to multiple devices, and everybody is shopping online for a whole lot of other products and services. So what is this going to do to the art market is really what we're going to talk about today. Let me start off by introducing my panelists. Rajiv Sethi needs no introduction. He's a very, very well-known and well-respected person in the art scene. Two of the things which really call out is the Geo Foundation, where he's done a lot of work in actually aggregating and putting together artisans from economically backward but culturally very rich spaces, and they are actually making luxury products which can be sold worldwide. He's also known for the art walk that was put together at T2, and I think if any of you miss your flight at the T2 terminal, you know whom to blame. So thank you, Rajiv, for being here. Malika Advani is an auctioneer. She currently auctions with Pundols, and also she's a consultant, art consultant. She's worked with Christie's for many years, almost 6 years, and she's also a consultant and art advisor, and many people, I think, thank her for the prize collections that they've put together, for themselves. So welcome, Malika. Thank you very much to be here. Subodh Gupta needs no introduction again, right? He's somebody, I'm just so happy to have met him. I've read so much about him and, seen his works, and of course, can only imagine ever owning one of them. He's best known for his very large scale installations. Very interestingly, he's used a lot of the everyday devices like the utensils, which actually interestingly have started depicting people instead of objects in his installations. And I think, thank you very much, Subodh. I know you've sacrificed many other appointments to be here, but thank you very much for being here. Sunita is the founder and owner of Gallery Ski. She's doing extremely interesting contemporary work, as is evident from her booth here at the India Art Fair as well. Interestingly, Sunita is actually has studied philosophy, and then she's got into the art world. So welcome, Sunita, and looking forward to hearing your views on art and e-commerce. So I'll start with Rajiv, with you. You are already putting together a lot of this artistic potential that lies in our country, across various parts of the country, regions, and you're trying to get the artists and the craftsmen actually to create luxury products which could be sold overseas or even domestically within India. And actually, internet is helping to connect that bridge, right, between somebody who's really back of, beyond in another state, in another village, and somebody sitting in another country or in a big city within our own country getting access to that quality of art and to that kind of, to those products. So how do you see the, the e-commerce trend really impacting the market for artisans which are under the Geo Foundation?
I'm rather nervous about the word art, artisans, sort of creative and cultural industries, just about getting used to that idea.
Right.
But in this post-internet age, and I use that consciously, post-internet age, I think we really need to feel and examine what we are proposing as totally new platforms. And I think these have to be very transdisciplinary, of course, as I indicated, very inclusive. They have to be tangible, they have to be intangible. They certainly have to be off the net, on the net, for the net, using the net, almost beyond all these well-known categories. But having thrown the things up in the air, Geo is a creative and cultural industry brand, and it's looking at the knowledge sector from a vast part of India that we do not access. There may be a quarter of India using the internet, but remember, we are 1 billion people where 300 million still don't know how to read and write, but with great talent. And how do we access this? How do we make their skills? And the skill sector is enormous. It's not just to do with making things, but doing things, being, performance, food, and all these are very related. Nothing can be, nothing is quite in a silo. It's all connected.
Right.
So I think Geo is such a brand where we are trying very hard to be able to bring out what the people do for their creativity, not just for elite markets or for exports, but for even local, for their hearts, for a high density urban area where people may not have the money, for the youth where people do not have more than a certain amount to be able to possess something, whether it be a service or a product. So it's creative and cultural industries that we're trying to position, reposition.
Right. So I'll just lead into, to Subodh. Subodh, because, you would identify a little bit with this. You've also come from a very small town, village in Bihar. You've made your way up to be one of the, best known artists today in India and across the world. How do you think your struggle or your journey would have been different if you had access to internet? And आज I know that there are so many people जो आपसे आके एडवाइस लेते हैं, जिनको आप मेंटर करते हो, जो बिहार से आ रहे हैं. आप क्या समझते हो कि हाउ इज़ देयर लाइफ डिफरेंट, या वो कैसे इंटरनेट को यूज़ कर सकते हैं, लीवरेज कर सकते हैं टू एक्चुअली हेल्प टू ग्रो देयर आर्ट प्रैक्टिस एंड टू शो देयर आर्ट टू अ लार्जर ऑडियंस?
जो होता तो ना होता, जो ना होता तो क्या होता. ये तो बहुत लंबी बात है. लेकिन इसके बहुत सारे पहलू हैं. सबसे पहले मैं तो बताऊंगा, क्योंकि आपने सवाल किया कि छोटी जगह से आने के बाद किस तरीके से, तो स्ट्रगल इज देयर डेफिनेटली. हमारे यहाँ तो कुछ ज़्यादा हम प्रिमिटिव थे, क्योंकि हमारे यहाँ लाइब्रेरी भी नहीं थी, तो कंप्यूटर और दूर की बात है किताब ही देखने को नहीं मिलती थी.
सही बात.
तो जब हम दिल्ली आते थे ललित कला एकेडमी में, तो वहाँ पे एक समकालीन कला की सबसे जो आज भी पूरे दुनिया में प्रचलित है, एक आर्ट फॉरम एक करके मैगजीन है. आई थिंक वन ऑफ द टॉप मैगजीन इन द आर्ट वर्ल्ड टुडे. और उसको हम लोग देखने आते थे, और उसको देख के इतना मन खुश हो जाता था कि हमें दुनिया के कामों से थोड़ी सी वार्तालाप हो गई इस तस्वीर के वजह से, इस मैगजीन के वजह से. ये तो दूर की बात है. अब रही कि टुडे वी हैव सो मच एक्सेस and we very fast, I have 2 kids and my wife. When 4 of us sit together, sometime we all in the phone, nobody talking to each other. इसके बहुत सारे पहलू हैं. एक तो हम दूरियां बढ़ा रहे हैं, और एक तरह से दुनिया को नज़दीक कर रहे हैं. So when you talk about the looking the art through the computer or internet access, is very good people who understand it. to at least they know okay, what they're looking at it. But it's very dangerous. People don't know what they are looking at it.
Right.
Some people, they think a sculpture, they thought, oh, I thought this is a painting. Because they haven't looked at it real art. They looked at it the computer way.
Right.
So much ups and down and so many things I believe in this. So lot way to go. Yeah.
Right. पर जो आप जिन नए जब अभी यंग जो अपकमिंग आर्टिस्ट है जिनसे आप अभी मिलते हैं तो what do you think how is their life panning out to be different because they have access? Do you think that they are showing their work online या वो Facebook पे अपना काम दिखाते हैं या Instagram पे कई आर्टिस्ट सब अपना काम दिखाते हैं and they get feedback? So are you seeing that trend happening?
No doubt, media and medium, the computer, the photography, and all the digital effects is helped today a lot to make art.
Right.
For in the day-to-day practice. Even I use it. I use photography, I use computer, I use all the access you can imagine. And sometimes I do use the 3D printing too. So no doubt, it's a tools when become a convenient. I will say 50 years ago, for an artist, when the first time, or 100, 200, 300 years ago, when the first time pencil came, that time, for an artist, pencil was computer. And today, when his computer came, for an artist, computer become a pencil.
Right.
So, no doubt, there is a lots access, very easy to visualize the object. Today, you no need a 3D modeler to mold your works and do it. If I wanted to make a sculpture sometime, I do it digitally. And I go to digital process and they carve your sculpture
right.
The way you want, very digitally way,
yeah.
print you. So there is a many way, but you sometime romance also go away.
Yes.
Like you see the food in digitally and you're not eating it,
Yeah.
so you don't know the taste.
Yeah, say, I absolutely, absolutely
So
agree with you.
there
Yeah.
is a
Yeah.
many things, yeah.
Sure.
So no doubt it's a helpful for the many artists, but same time, it can be only helpful when it's positive way.
Sure.
But if you think, okay, I print this and this become my art, or you have to really make a statement for that.
Sure.
And why you're doing it. Without knowing it, using any material is like playing with the clay.
Sure. Thank you. Malika, my next question is to you, which is more from a buyer perspective and a market perspective. I think we've heard, about artisans, artist perspective of how to use technology. But in your experience working at Christie's, being so familiar with online auctions, how do you really think that, the World Wide Web is impacting how art is actually acquired? What are the changes that are happening globally?
I think, Manisha, it's not really important how you buy art. So whether it's an online auction, whether you're clicking and buying through a gallery or an auction space, what's more important is what you're buying.
Right.
And the process through which you're deciding what you buy. So for that, the internet and everything it offers in terms of resources is key. It's critical. And the more we have in terms of different websites that offer you information on artists, their processes, galleries, what artists they have in stock, what kinds of work they have, different websites that give you access to prices for works that have come up at auction, at different auction houses globally. All these are resources. So I think for me, the internet is a resource to be used to do all the research you need before you decide what to buy.
Right.
Eventually, whether you buy through an online gallery or an online auction is secondary. But you have to use the internet to get all the information you need to decide what it is that I like. Do I like Subodh's sculptures or do I like his installations? The whole point of buying a piece of art is enjoying it. The visual experience and the visual effect and impact of what you're buying is primary. So we can't lose that. So even
Right.
though the internet is giving you access to all this, they're two very different things. There's the commerce of it and there's the aesthetics of it. So I think you
And the
must
experience
use,
of it as
and the experience. A lot of people enjoy going and interacting with artists, dealers, gallerists. They like the conversation, they like walking around the artwork, they like living with it for a certain period of time. Certain galleries let you take the work home. You go look at the work. That is the most important thing.
Stories.
The story, how it was made. Then you can go do your research.
Right.
What is the artist about? Where did he go to school? What are the different kinds of works he does? What are his techniques? What is he best known for? Right? What does he like to do? What does he think? What does he say about his work? All this is available today on the web, which is wonderful. Where did it sell? Where did he first sell? How much did it sell for? How can I deal with things like restoration, shipping? All those things are accessible to you on the web today. But that shouldn't determine what you buy. That should simply determine how you buy it.
Yeah.
What you buy is still very much a visual experience. It is meant to be enjoyed.
Yeah.
You can't just look at a work of art on the web. You'll be deciding whether is it a sculpture or a painting, as Subodh rightly said.
Yeah.
You know?
No, I think that's a very interesting point, and clearly there is a room for some sort of an offline-online play, right? You know, and that's what we see even as, you know, conventional marketers or anybody who's running a digital platform, because digitally you can really track people's behavior, right? I mean, every click is trackable. You know, I hope everybody knows that you are being tracked all the time by everyone. So we can really track behavior, and what we do find is that there is actually a sort of a, you know, seamless flow between your handheld device to your desktop to your physical experience, going into a store or a gallery, coming back and maybe completing the transaction online. So there's definitely a play where there is a physical play and there is an online play, and sometimes maybe online is more important for the content, like you said, and also for the completion of the transaction. Right? But I'm just wondering that when entry-level buyers, and you know, there's a Visa study which is out, with affluent study that they did for last year, and they said more and more people are buying art and actually coming into the fold at the age of 25 or 30, and the average money that they are paying for that piece of work is actually something like 20 to 30,000 rupees. You know, I'm wondering whether when somebody is spending 20 to 30,000 rupees, and I'm assuming that this was an affluent study and therefore 20 to 30,000 rupees is not a lot of money for them at that point in time. Do you think that this is something that they would take a call on just by seeing it visually, and once you know, electronically, and once they see the work at home and they experience it, they get a little bit of a sense of being able to visualize how things would look in reality after actually seeing them online. So my question really is now to Sunita, that is there a role for a offline online play, because physical galleries will always be constrained by the expense of running a physical gallery, and therefore would never be dealing in art which is priced maybe at this level, because you know, the kind of work that one sees at galleries is usually far more expensive. So is there a place for new buyers and new collectors to enter through this medium and then graduate and work their way up to actually coming to galleries and buying more high value art than what they are buying online, for starters?
First of all, I'd like to clarify that a lot of galleries show art that is extremely affordable to a lot of people. We have shown, and we continue to show, work that can be anything from 3,000 rupees to 10,000 rupees. Galleries also really encourage young people. We know that the future is the young people who will be patrons, you know, or bigger serious patrons in the years ahead.
Right.
If a young person comes up to me and says, I earn 20,000 and your work costs 10, and can I pay you in installments of 200 or 300 rupees? I'm going to say yes, because they've thought about it, they've really engaged with the work, they want to welcome it into their life. So I think most galleries are totally open to those conversations.
Sure.
Also in terms of, you know, so that I think is a myth, that galleries have expensive works because they have expensive overheads. I think, and I will only speak about myself personally, I think what you're interested in is content. And when you're doing a show, you're not really sitting there or programming your space for the next year. You're not thinking about what is the value of this show, how much will I sell out of it, what will it bring back in terms of rentals. You're really thinking about the quality and the content. You're thinking about different artists that you've been excited about in terms of studio visits and how you can incorporate that into your program. So, I mean, surely there's space for, like Malika said, in terms of to do your research. But even there, my issue is when you do research, you know, there are lots of people that get their own Wikipedia pages written. There is also, when you Google a really important artist, there isn't a discernment about the kind of content about them that will reveal itself. It could be a really bad article in a tabloid piece of paper that said the artist was at this lunch, which probably appears first, where a dense 10-page article on their work, which is something you should read will probably be on the 4th page.
Sure.
So it's also something where, like, and also what Subodh was saying, if you don't know how to deal with it and what you're looking for, it really can be quite misleading. But having said that, you know, there are places like, I think it's called Seditions, where artists specially make work for the online medium, and I think you pay £15 or £10 to buy it, and you have it as your screensaver. And you know, and even somebody like Bharti, even with the 2-dimensional works and the sculptures and the installations that she's doing, has actually made a version for Sedition. So you could, so things like that I think can surely be explored.
One is using the internet more than just the tool. You're actually creating on it. It's a means for a much bigger discourse.
Creative process.
And it's a process. And you're improvising on it, you are using all its various gadgets for something that creates something that was never expected.
Right.
So 2 plus 2 is not 4.
It's much more. In fact, Rajiv, I was going to ask you my next question, because you know, the T2 project has really been one of the biggest projects in terms of bringing art into public spaces. You know, like for the first time, people are actually seeing everything that this country has to offer in terms of artistic content during that walk, right?
Not everything.
A lot. There's still a lot more. Maybe we need another airport for that. But it is a fantastic experience. And you know, usually people only talk about how good the flight was and how fast they got their taxi or the baggage came. But whenever people come and go through the T2 now, they talk about the art, and I think that's like a really big achievement. So how do you think the internet and online ventures, you know, like ours, and there are so many more out there, can help to bring art into public spaces? Do you think the phone and the desktop and can actually assume the role of a public space as well, and at least build that certain engagement? Because even if I cannot visit Bangalore and go to Sunita's gallery, I can probably still browse through maybe the work that she's putting together on her website or whatever. So don't you think that that's a role that...
No, we are, you know, the airport has many restrictions. Yes, public domain, 40 million footfalls, that's more than most galleries and museums put together.
Absolutely.
But are they really being able to connect? So digital domain, yes. I mean, I think the fact that we can now have, and we are working, Google is doing that too, they are able to go into every object, every story. You can have multiple access. You can download what you want at that moment, and or go into a detail of something that you otherwise remains distant. I think that we are trying now to accession it and create another digital museum where the interaction, the interface with the artwork and the creative process becomes far more intimate. So that's really the next challenge, how to make things more accessible. But I certainly think that the digital domain is going to create a whole new ecology between art, architecture, and social change.
Subodh, I wanted to ask you, you know, I read in the papers a couple of weeks ago, okay, the artist to gallery ratio is actually so skewed that there aren't enough number of galleries or even public spaces for artists to showcase their work. I think जैसे जहांगीर आर्ट गैलरी में I think 2 या 3 साल का वेटिंग है. Similarly, India Habitat Center या कहीं मतलब long queues. तो artists कहाँ जाएं? अपना काम वो कहाँ दिखाएं? Because galleries भी कम हैं. In fact, many of them are shutting down. You know, the numbers have only gone down. They've not gone up in terms of the number of galleries. So where does an artist go to show his work in today's contest? And I'm talking about obviously a artist who does not have a gallery representation.
Well, I will take you little further than this, because no doubt artists use the media. Even I love Instagram. I'm all the time, most of the time I'm Instagram, and I post. I love the images, looking what other artists did it, what's happened. And for the example, the Ai Weiwei, the Chinese artist who become an activist, he uses the Instagram because many of the Facebook in China were banned. So many countries also control their media and the technology in various regions, the political region, other region. So, but some artists, when they have a voice to express themselves to the world and they wanted to express something, he is the most example person for the how he used the Instagram and how much the flower he got all over the world today and support. So, no doubt media sometimes play the role can be really life changing and it could be really dynamic things. But for the young artists, when they have a no gallery representing and they're trying to, it's nothing wrong to you put in your image in the Instagram or Facebook. You do what you like, nobody is stopping you. But so much crap work also, who will tell them that this is good, this is bad? And viewer, how they will decide that what I'm looking at, this is a really art or this is just nothing.
Right.
So that's the distance.
Yeah.
Only individual can decide.
Yeah.
Nobody is stopping the artist to put the image in the media, and no viewer is stopping to not look at that. You look at both, but you decide, okay,
So
this
you
is
know,
a,
in
Why
fact,
should there be gatekeepers?
yeah, good.
sorry,
Why should there be gatekeepers?
who?
Anybody.
Anybody, whether it's a gallery or a scholar or an expert, why should they tell you this is art and this is not art?
I didn't say that. I didn't say that ki there should be gatekeeper. I didn't say that ki there should be gatekeeper. I said ki the person who is to, you have to decide. I'm not asking you to be somebody, you have to decide ki you like it or not like it.
If we put, for example, you know, the point was that if we take art, for example, online, right, and we are actually connecting the creator with the buyer directly in a sense, and people are buying what they like. Now, their own education may be very limited, and therefore they are not necessarily buying what is great, but from an artistic perspective, but what they like, and what they like may not be really great art. So how do you?
And really, like Rajiv said, it's not like we're trying to be that there should be gatekeepers and there should be democracy about whoever wants to look at whatever and buy it. But again, from a personal point of view, I didn't come into the art world to build the biggest commercially viable position as a dealer. I came in because I was very interested in content, and I'm interested in working long term with practices to kind of see what develops and maybe if there's going to be any legacy at all. So I think that, you know, it's not like I'm anti the internet. It's very useful. We go to art fairs in many parts of the world and it helps you keep in touch with your clients. But my only issue is, even when I look at content offered by, say, the Saatchi website, where anybody who's an artist can upload their work and put it out there. I mean, you can put a painting, so can I. We can be next to Subodh, and we're all there on the same platform, you know. And so I just think that it's also like for a new entrant who's even coming in as a viewer or a prospective buyer, they especially need some kind of conversation or help where you kind of see some differences or have place to have discourse, you know, and then you can still choose that instead of Subodh they want to buy your painting. That's fine, you know, it's your choice.
Yeah.
But so I just think that in terms of the internet, unless we build ways where content and discernment become part of access to thousands of images, and also there are no limitations, like only if it's a 2D work it's going to look great on a screen. There are works that have smell, sound, and textural things which are not able to be represented in this medium still. It's
As
like
yet.
Absolutely.
as yet,
As yet.
and
You never
hopefully
know.
that'll change.
Yeah,
You know, I
yeah.
mean, it's like with auction houses. If it was a sculpture that was mechanical, it's like, sorry, that's not part of our
Right,
life.
right.
Doesn't mean it's not a good work.
Yeah. No, absolutely. And, you know, we were saying that, you know, Facebook is great, WhatsApp is great because it helps us to keep in touch with our friends. but there's nothing like meeting them personally and chatting with them over a couple of beers, right? So that physical experience that one actually has in a physical space, whether it's a gallery or it's a public space or it's an India Art Fair, where we all are today, I think that will always have its place. It'll probably, and I guess everybody will keep reinventing themselves, and try to attract audiences and remain relevant as things move on. I mean, I think it's like the retail industry is trying to do that. With more and more people shopping online, they're wondering how do we get people back into shops. So I think that's like an ongoing evolution, and all of us will continue to be part of the process. Malika, you want to say something?
Based on what everybody's comments have been, that if you look at different online surveys that are trying to predict collecting habits or track collecting habits over the last few years, Instagram has had the most hits. Instagram and Facebook are the most popular ways for people to buy art today online. And by that I mean they like to follow artists. They don't like to follow just a gallery. They want to follow the artist. They want to understand what the artist is all about, not just his work. So what does he do on a daily basis? And 50% of collectors will actually go back and buy a work based on an Instagram picture.
Right.
And that number is only increasing per year. And that is because they are able to look at what they are able to search for what they want and look for what they want without anybody making a decision for them. Yes, then of course a gallerist comes into play if they take it to the second step. But firstly, they are able to look for whoever they want without anybody giving them any kind of, they just follow the artist. That's the most important thing.
Content has many layered narratives.
Yes.
But creating content through multiple access is the way of the future.
Yeah.
So now if there is a site which is dedicated to the creative process, then they are seeking to unravel these many stories, these many narratives, making people with multiple access, with multiple sensibilities, different approaches, come closer to what is it that moves the sap. Ultimately, it's how you move. If you're not moved, it's really nothing about creativity.
Absolutely. And in fact, it's an interesting point you made, Malika, because I've been to many gallery openings and sometimes seen artists like Subodh, and maybe the artist whose work it is, and I've always been shy of going up and talking to the artist, because I'm not sure what to ask. I don't know whether, the artist is friendly. So because of digital, actually, we are getting to know some of our artists much better than we would have, because even though they are physically present in spaces, sometimes there's a sense of maybe a little bit of intimidation or, just lack of confidence to go and speak to an artist and actually understand. I'll ask him a few questions and he'll give a few answers. But the way if I follow, if you follow an artist online, sometimes you really understand what he's trying to do. And that's the power of the web, I guess.
The intimidation you talk about,
Yes.
sorry, I was just going to say extends also beyond the artist. A lot of people are intimidated with coming into a gallery or going into an auction house.
Absolutely.
So the digital platform allows them to do their own research in a neutral space without anybody making any judgments, which is that's what they're afraid of, right?
Absolutely.
Will I know enough? Should I ask this question? Should I not ask this question? Is my budget too low to go into Christie's or any other auction house? So all of that, the net takes away all that, and then they get the confidence to go approach an artist, go into an auction house and go into a gallery.
Absolutely.
So again, it's knowledge building, right? Once you have the knowledge and you know enough about something, you have the confidence to buy something. So it's you must use the resource it offers you.
Sure. So what you were saying something?
I was just saying, no doubt, computer media is so powerful.
Yeah.
Today, exactly, we Google and found out which exhibition, which artist, which gallery exhibiting, what the new work they done it, what the new piece they made it. It's a fantastic to see that, and exactly from sitting even in a village in somewhere in India, okay, what exactly happening Marine Goodman Gallery and all the even Sunita Gallery, what's happening, you can find out today because everybody in their artist name to their work of the artist, all the is there. You can watch it. Sometime good piece of artwork not take justice with a good photograph. So sometimes good piece of artwork look visually so bad when you have a photograph.
And the other way around.
And sometime, absolutely, exactly what I'm going to say. And sometime,
It's not been shot properly.
very bad piece of artwork look very good in digitally. So there is all kind of things is there in the
Absolutely.
yeah.
And
बड़े मशहूर संगीतकार थे जो इस बारे में कहती थी कि मैं ये रोटी कुत्ते को क्यों फेंकूं भाई?
हाँ जी.
Why should I just throw a piece of bread? It's another thing when you actually feed the dog and when you throw it away. So I think the role of the catalyst, the role of those people who are engaged with this idea of increasing the quality of life, I think the larger issues have to be always there. We are not talking about art. We're not talking about what we see in this fair.
Yeah.
We're talking about something much bigger. Even culture is not a good word for it.
Absolutely.
Maybe Sanskriti.
It's a phenomenon.
Maybe Sanskriti. And we are as people who are helping people come close, must have this tentative notion of doing something extremely important but very tentative. फूक फूक के पैर रखना पड़ता है.
But on that note, I'll actually open up questions to the audience, and the gentleman at the back there, please ask a very short question and tell us which panelist are you directing your question to.
Hi. Am I audible? Yeah. I had a question for both of you, in fact. I'm an online gallerist, and I've seen over the last 1 year that the market has actually exploded because you have a saturation of online galleries online, as well as things like a record sales of 3 million plus that happened, I think, with the Chinese buyer. My question was just this: with auction houses coming into the online space, with Christie's and Sotheby's actually taking up, making partnerships with some of the large e-com retailers out there like eBay and Amazon. What do you see is the role of the gallerist in the online space moving forward? How do you see, and it would be really relevant to both of you because I think both of you have been are in that space. How do you see the role of the online gallerist actually adding value when the platform is actually exploding to something that's looking like where an artist can actually go direct to the market? Because that's really where it's going to a large extent.
Yeah, thanks. I think, he's saying as things get disintermediated, how will the gallerist reinvent himself and stay relevant, right? Malika and Sunita.
I mean, I think it's more a question for Sunita, but I'll give you and I'll tell you why I think it's for Sunita. Traditionally, the auction house is a secondary market. It is not a primary market. Artists should not be going to auction houses directly. It is when a work comes on resale that you come to an auction house, okay? So whether an auction house is online or a real-time auction, frankly, it makes a little bit of difference because it's just like an online auction is only offering you a service. The auction house is just facilitating and making a process easier and making it more efficient. That's it. In terms of an online gallery, I think it's better if Sunita answers that because the gallerist is who deals with the artist primarily. And that's how it should be because that is the traditional relationship.
Sure. So
in terms of traditionally speaking, I see the role of there are all types of gallerists. You have the dealer gallerists, and then you maybe have the muse gallerists, or not so much muse, but one who goes in to edit content, to have conversations with the artists, and really be a part of developing the practice emotionally, intellectually, as like a team. I'd like to see myself as the non-dealer gallerist. It's not a skill set I really have. I'd like to. But in terms of, anything that I'm not really threatened by artists being able to go directly to the collector because we have the other problem. We only have 15 artists and in like 13 years of having a gallery. So it's more about we're not able to accommodate all the artists. And I think that it's not only the relationship between the artist and the gallery, it's also the responsibility towards the collector where we also want to engage with them in a long-term way in the way that we work with our artists. And I don't know, I don't think that in terms of anything online in the future, it kind of does. There's like, I don't see it having any impact on what I do. It's also because it's not only the gallery shows, you also go to art fairs in different parts of the world to promote your program and show your artists. So If you go to a Basel or a Miami like we do, I don't think the artists are going to leave you anytime soon.
Yeah. Thank you, Sunita. Can we have the mic here, please?
My name is Vijay Kiawat. In my opinion, there are multiple ecosystems operating in this industry. At one end, you have the elite, affluent buyers who are seasoned. They have access to the entire art world. There is a different category of buyers who have a lot of money but not enough knowledge. And they hesitate, they are intimidated by the art, language, the vocabulary, and they just cannot approach an artist or the gallery. So if the online platform can provide them this facility to learn more about art and buy directly, and there are so many new entrants who are totally different away from these two ecosystems. They are not used to buying, but they want to buy art. You go to any home in India and you'll find that there are very few homes having art, but they have the money. They have the money to buy only if they can be educated through the online galleries, and who can be a platform for building up trust, because there are hundreds of online galleries and you don't know where to go. See, if an online gallery can create a niche for itself, being reputed, unbiased, trusted, then probably it can open up a new market for that ecosystem.
And it's not just about buying. There is a desire to be part of something. It's more about pedagogy also.
Yeah, so the
Everything
online
is
gallery
not
has
for
the
sale,
responsibility of
necessarily.
creating this market. People have the money, but they don't have the wherewithals to know what to buy.
In fact, if I can just build on what Mr. Kiawat is saying, if you look at e-commerce trends, you know, the largest sales that a Flipkart or a Jabong or Myntra or any of these online retailers do come actually from tier 2 and tier 3 cities. It doesn't come from the metros, because in a tier 2 or tier 3 city, if you live in a small town like say Nangal in Punjab, and you want to buy a pair of Nike shoes, there is no store in Nangal which will give you a pair of Nike shoes, right? So it's about building access into newer areas. I'm from Chandigarh, our friend Divan is from Chandigarh. Every house in Chandigarh costs at least $1 million, right? But I can count the number of houses in Chandigarh which probably have art in them. So it's about access. There are no big galleries in a place like Chandigarh. So I think the online is also bridging, and because I think there's so much content available already online. I think people are learning and then being able to buy online
so my
as
next
well.
question is going to be, is it really about buying something that fits on a wall, or, when in doubt, put a pot in a corner? What about site-specific things that involve the person who is actually wants to live with this art, being part of that process of creating something that will become a part of his life?
Right.
I think that process is what the net will also open up.
Absolutely, and I think
This
like we were talking about
bespoke,
Instagram.
the concept of bespoke,
Bespoke, absolutely.
the concept of making some things happen as they happen.
Absolutely,
So
I think that's a
there is
huge
nothing
area
like,
to be explored.
There's nothing like
Yeah.
a finished product.
Right. We have, I think, time for one more question. So,
Hi, I'm Maria. I'm a student, and this is open to everybody in the panel, this question. So, in my opinion, I feel digital is there just to share stories about the artist and the work and how it transforms. So, it's informative, and of course, you can purchase it. So, for me, it's not a question about whether it's good or bad, because that happens even in physical art. So, based on my knowledge, whatever works I've seen in the art fair, there are some bad ones. That is just my opinion, sorry. But so that happens physically, and it can happen digitally. So how do we ensure that, of course we can't be the judge of what's good and what's bad, but how do you ensure that it's authentic, at least the artist is being authentic, and so this doesn't happen digitally. So whatever happens,
so can you?
The commerce of fakes.
Are you talking about fakes, or are you talking about
not
the artist being
fakes, I'm
authentic
talking
to
about
himself?
artists who are marketed really, really well. They can be marketed online really, really well, even if their work isn't that great. So my question is, how is there some sort of way you can make sure that the good ones are marketed in the best manner possible?
Yeah, I'm not sure that there's an answer to that question
Yeah.
because I mean, if there is an answer, maybe I'll have to give it. So, can we
Yeah.
sort of
It's
you know?
engagement.
Yeah.
It's a process.
I think it's a process.
One input from yesterday's speakers forum discussion. This is very interesting for this forum. Yesterday,
So can you stand up, please? Because then
yesterday
camera
at the
gets you.
speakers forum, there was a discussion on South Asian developing collectors, and there was a young Indian collector there, and obviously he was on the platform because he must be spending money and collecting a lot of art. So he made a unique statement. He said last 10 pieces of art that he has bought were bought on the internet without meeting the artist, only doing the net research.
Interesting. So that's quite interesting. I think we are, you know, the time is up now. Anu, is that right? Yeah. So I think we'll have to close the session. But you know, a big thanks to all my panelists. It's been actually really, you know, interesting and stimulating to talk to you. Hopefully, the audience enjoyed the session as much as we did. Thank you very much. Can we please have a big hand for our panelists?